I feel like this is your year.
Thank you.
You're blowing up on socials. You've got ambassador deals. Question I have for you: do you get the similar feedback with building personal brand from females or males?
I'm actually surprised. There's a thing about men don't need all the information. They need about 60% of the information to make a decision.
Correct.
Women often need 100% of the information or feel like they don't have enough then to make the move or make a decision.
How better are you at running your companies now with this new mindset? How can someone with 0 followers, 0 idea of a personal brand to become the Mel Yu?
Well, Mel Yu's taken. There's only one of me.
Correct.
This is why I love building personal brands, because I see everything from a lens of you are one of one.
Hi all. Today I have the Mel Yu. Mel, did I coin the phrase the Mel Yu?
I think so, maybe. I think other people have said you are the Mel Yu, but you've definitely made it resonate and land. So we're just
Mel Yu.
Yeah, we're just going to roll with it. I don't mind it.
Everyone I introduce you to, is that the Mel Yu? I'm like, yeah, it's just Mel, but we can call her the Mel Yu. So Mel, love having you back on Tab's little podcast.
She's back.
She's back.
Yeah.
In your full glory. I feel like
Version
this year,
2, the glow up.
Yeah, I feel like this is your year.
Thank you.
You're blowing up on socials. You've got ambassador deals. I'm seeing you on more and more podcasts. You're saying no to podcasts. Thank you for coming on today.
Not Tav's on though, so
no,
we're good.
Well, you could say no to me. I wouldn't take it personally. So I have one question for you today. Mm-hmm. And we're going to roll with this and see where it goes.
Okay.
So here's the question. How can life challenges be reframed to strengthen a professional career and build a credible, influential personal brand?
Loaded question. This is going to be a good one. So
I spent an hour putting that question together.
That one question. Thank you. How can life's challenges, if we have a look at challenges and struggles, I just think that life will always have those. We've all got a story, but it's not so much the hardship and the challenges and the struggles that make the story worthy of being told.
Okay.
The story that's worthy of being told is how you then overcame it, or how you then built the resilience and found the resources to continue on with life despite those hardships and struggles and challenges. Because so many of us, if we're talking about personal brand and professional, so many of us can have a story. We don't know what to do with that story. And we also don't really do anything incredible with that story, because sometimes we play a victim to our own stories and we start rewiring ourselves and having this identity of that's our victim mentality or that's our story. So we're looking back at things and we will go, we can't achieve this because of that. We can't achieve X because Y happened to me 15 years ago.
Issues.
Yeah, I think it's self-worth. I think there's a lot of things, self-esteem, confidence, lack of clarity, uncertainty. Yeah, I think you can be either a victim or a victor to your story, right? And I've just chosen very publicly to work through it and to hero it and be quite vulnerable with it on my digital presence.
You are very vulnerable on your platforms.
I get that a lot. Yes.
Yeah, but you've taught me that it's okay to be me. You've guided me through some pretty dark times in my life. I love your vulnerability. How do you feel that vulnerability plays an element in your personal brand, but also building a business? Because at the end of the day, people that are watching this podcast want to have their own businesses. They want to have their own control of their own destiny. How do you think vulnerability plays into that?
That's a two-folded question. So I'll answer the vulnerability part first, but then I'd love for you, if I forget, to circle back to the control of your own destiny.
Yeah, done.
Because that thought is important. But look, Brene Brown does research on vulnerability way better than I ever could. And in terms of...
Well, you are a psychologist.
I am a psychologist, but I think diving deep into the art of vulnerability and learning about what vulnerability is, and when we actually recognize that it's courage rather than just like having a woe is me cry story, because that's not actually what vulnerability is. So when people say I'm incredibly vulnerable and people are inspired by that, it's not because I'm a victim to my own story. The art of, I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to share something that you've gone through. I think it takes even more courage to be able to share something that you are going through in real time. And I think that's the difference between my personal brand and a lot of personal brands, because they come out and they've shared from a place of processed and learning and hindsight, which is great. I think there's so much value in that. So if anyone's ever thinking it's too late for me to share, it absolutely isn't. And we can repurpose and rewrite your story and also bring in a lot of the experiences that you've gone through into your personal brand today. However, I've somehow got the ability to share everything in real time. And that's the level of authenticity that I've built my brand on. And it's something that's very easy for me though. So it's my zone of genius and it comes natural to me, which is why I do share so much. One of the most recent examples, so I've shared all throughout my 10 years being a personal brand online, all the way through from, it's public information, so all the way through from my partner dying by suicide and I found him at 23 to losing certain businesses and milestones and to the most recent one, my ex cheating on me. And we were a very public relationship.
You were.
And when that bombshell hit, it not only, completely hit me for six, but it was something that I wanted to bring people along that journey because a high value woman needed to remain a high value woman. And we had to process a lot of that stuff. But a lot of my community just really resonated with how quick I was to be so raw and vulnerable about sharing sort of those things. But the thing is, if you don't claim your shame's going to claim you.
And 100%.
Right? And it's this deep shadow work. Shame only exists in the shadows. It only exists when we do not shine a light on it. But the moment that you shine a light on something, there's no longer any shame there. And so for me, I've just always done that. It's like, wait, what do I have to be ashamed of that my partner cheated on me? That has no actual representation of the person that I am.
Correct.
That's an issue that he has to go through and work through. And and so I wanted to shine light on talk about it because I think so many people don't find that their voice when they've gone through very similar experiences. And so when I'm able to be vulnerable online, it actually connects me with so many more people because I've been able to articulate things where they don't have the words to. And then looking at my content, they happen to go, hey, like I feel really seen by that. And I think that's really powerful.
That really resonates with me. Like,
what shame do we want to talk about? But what are we claiming today?
I think we need to claim we're all human.
Absolutely.
We all fuck up. We all do things that we look back and go hindsight and go, okay, that probably wasn't fucking such a great idea. We both talk about, people that we've loved and the money it's cost. Money's renewable, time's not. The lessons, I think what you're trying to say is the more that vulnerable you are, the more open you are, the more people resonate with your personal brand, thus in turns build trust, which then they feel like they should be dealing with your business.
I think things have just moved so drastically.
In a real short amount of time.
Yeah, and it's about to shift again. And I think this conversation is incredibly important because all I'm doing is shouting out, build your personal brand from the rooftops. And you are the empress of personal brand. But it's not because it's not from a place of like, let's all just build a personal brand for what? It's not for fame. It's not for vanity. It's not for any sort of metric other than if you're someone that's listening to this and you do want to, what was it, that own your own destiny?
Yeah, own your own destiny.
If you wanted to make an impact, if you actually want to leave a legacy for whoever it is that is going to be here after you for the time that you're gone, if it's your family, if it's your kids, if it's your community, whatever that may be, you need to start building that personal brand. Why now? Because we are in a crazy time of revolution of AI, right?
Yep.
That's coming. It's here. We're all, ChatGPT is our bestie. I swear my current partner now spends more time with chat than me.
What the fuck?
But like, because
him and I need to go for a beer, have a bit of a chat
but
here.
it's
Hang on a sec.
Hey, chat.
We'll go for a chat with Tav.
Literally the amount of times I'll message you and he's like, I'm just, having a session with chat. And I'm like, okay, babe. But we're in this time where we have AI right here, right now.
Yep.
And I'm like fascinated by, okay, well, if this society is about to become so information heavy, our ability to learn a new skill is 10x in terms of anything that we used to have. And even now, like with coaching and all these things, we've got all these modules. There's almost no barrier to entry because we all can regurgitate the same information.
Correct.
But what is it that's going to be able to stand out from everything else so that if both products are the same, both messaging is the same, pretty much both e-course or whatever module, whatever it is that you're teaching is exactly the same. The difference is the messenger.
So I think the same in my business. The messenger has to be it because my clients will soon have the same tech that I have. I've got a better understanding of it. I have a better understanding of recruitment, but they fundamentally have the same weapons that I have.
Yes. So why is someone going to choose TRS recruitment over JBS recruitment? I don't know. Just make that up.
I don't know. Funny enough, I owned the name TRS recruitment. When I started TRS resourcing was half the name of my mate's company I used to work for in the UK when I was living in the UK, right? But everyone rings up and says TRS recruitment. So one day I had this idea that I buy all the URLs. So I own recruitment, resourcing, name it, and then I just pull it all back to the main, to the mothership. One of my panicking on a Friday night conversations I had with myself. God, if I only had chat then. I love all that, right? Is vulnerability your new super weapon for an entrepreneur?
Only if it's authentic to you.
Ooh, crocodile tears is what you're saying, yeah?
It needs the way that you share has to be aligned to you, and you also have to be ready and comfortable for it. Like, what are we showing the vulnerability for? There is absolutely strength in vulnerability. There's so many layers around it. It humanizes you. It makes you approachable. It builds trust. In a world now that's so fabricated, we are seeking more human relationships. But also energetically, you can sense when someone is being genuinely kind of vulnerable and sharing with the desire to be able to help other people, or are you just being vulnerable but there's
for attention?
Yeah, because that exists here. I think that exists, right? And you can't hero your wounded story without the hero's journey of give us, okay, that's great, thank you for sharing, but then what? But then what? What did we actually take away from it? What did we actually need to learn from what you have gone through? That's the idea, I think, when we're building a personal brand, is we share the hardships, we share the struggles, we share the challenges, but actually watch how I move through this chapter. Watch how I move through this season and come out on the other end. That's why I think people are so fascinated by me, because I've got this relentless, never give up attitude, and I have this glow for life, no matter how many things have come through that's out of my control. But it's my perspective on it. And I think people love, how do they live like Mel? How do they gain a perspective like Mel? Because the things that I've gone through, arguably some people are like, I would not have been able to get out of bed for that. I would not have been able to get up and show up again.
I think why you and I are such good friends is because both of us have no plan B. There's no other plan. Either we make this work or it doesn't. Because neither of us are going back to be an employee. I could never imagine you as an employee.
I joke about it. I do joke about it from time to time.
I thought you just said you dreamt about it. And I'm like, fuck, was it a nightmare?
Nah, every now and again I do, but that's a wound that I need to stop saying.
No, a steady paycheck, sexy. But at the other side to that, I make an horrendous employee. I remember when I've made mutinies in companies. Like generally half the office with me, the other half with the management team. And that has happened. I remember getting in a punch up with another recruiter on the shop floor in London, like full on. Just like French recruiters, we were on like Donkey Kong, all over that. But okay. I brought up, being in control of your own destiny because for a long time during my career, I wasn't in charge of my own destiny. I made millions of dollars for other people. And I guess I would have been. I didn't start my first company till I was 27. That was a spectacular fuck up. Ended in a divorce. Went back to an employee for 3 or 4 years. Made a lot of money. Started again in 2013 when I was 33, right? And I've basically been, to this day, I've always been that. If I'd learned about personal brand back then, holy shit. Like, what's the word? Dyslexic brain's kicking in. What is it when you look back at something?
Hindsight.
Hindsight's wonderful, right? Question I have for you, Mel, is what potentially is our hindsight moment from today? We go 2 to 5 years in the future and we look back to present day. What do you think a potential hindsight moment is currently that we could talk to our listeners about, that looking back we went, fuck, that was not a great idea, or we should have been more of that and less of this?
In this moment?
Yeah, in this moment. So this moment, 5 years into the future, we look back and go, what's our hindsight moment?
I think people are going to live with deep regret if they don't start building their brand alongside their business brand today. And what I mean by that is a lot of companies and a lot of very successful senior people is like, I don't need to build a personal brand because we've got a business brand and a company, and we're caring about the numbers on the spreadsheets and everything, making sure that works. And I'm always like, that's great, amazing. But in 5 years' time, your business, do not complain about it if it becomes completely a degenerate.
But a lot of people we're seeing the baby boomer generation at the moment, and you and I have spoken about this, retiring at the moment, not able to sell their businesses, not getting the money they want for them, and they're just being shut down. And business 20, 30 years in operation, right? Because they struggle in this digital age, struggling. They're all for the fax machine and the white and yellow pages, right? Do you think, though, moving forward, that we're going to get this same cycle again of these business owners not able to adapt to the new norm? Like, if we're not able to push the comfort zone all the time, right? If we're not able to embrace a personal brand, do you think people are just going to accept that and just become
Not everyone's
irrelevant?
going to be a personal brand, but I think there needs to be some sort of acceptance that other people are going to surpass you.
Yep.
And you can love it, hate it, speculate it all you want, but the exorbitant amount of wealth is going to individuals and independents building brands on platforms that you cringe on, like TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all of that.
Yep.
It's all happening, and people are baffled by the amount of money that an individual person can make, and it's all revenue for us.
Yep.
Everything that I build that's a program, that's a event is like all revenue. And I create webinars and seminars on Zoom and in live events, and all of that, you're talking money that's never been able to be created before in such a time with what we have now.
Is that because the playing field's been leveled because you used to go to the big corporations because they had the budgets, they had the marketing?
Absolutely. I think the playing field's been leveled for a while now, and it's about to tip over. That's what I'm saying about the hindsight is if you're not building the brand now, the wave is coming.
I think it's here.
Telling everyone to ride the wave because the corporates aren't going to be around for much longer, or they're going to be they're going to be scrambling for all of these individual people coming out and building trust that way.
Okay. Do you think like corporations that buy brands to make them look independent? Right, so your big corporation, they buy a cosmetic brand, they buy a water company to make, but they retain the structure, right? Do you think that could potentially be with personal brands as well, where a corporation buys your brand?
They're already doing that too.
Okay.
So that's what.
This I did not know about. Tell me more.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's what an ambassador is.
Okay, I never thought of it like that.
When you think about a brand, let's use my as a personal experience.
Where's your ambassador stuff coming along?
Shout out to Land Rover, Melbourne City Land Rover.
Yeah.
But
we'll put a link
this is exactly what we're talking about. By larger companies that are about to innovate, luxury car brand, Range Rover. You
do look good in one.
Thank you. Paired with a person that's on the ground influential within their target market that share the same value and alignment, and they get to have the brand be represented in a unique way of people that already trust me. So I hold myself with such high worth and value, but by association, when people see me in a Range Rover, I'm not saying everyone's going to go out and then suddenly buy a Range Rover, but that pairing by association is where the personal brand has significant power than compared to running a cinematic ad campaign with all the beautiful shiny things, with all the bells and whistles. You can spend $50,000 on an ad creative, but that is not going to gear as much results as a personal brand just using it and speaking about it in its raw, unique format. I'm not the one creating this economy. I'm not the one creating this society. This is just where the data is going. This is where the eyeballs are going. This is where the attention is going. And so if you are a numbers person that loves the data and the spreadsheet, you have a responsibility to have a look at where the engagement and the impressions and the views are headed towards. That's why we sit on these platforms like podcasts. That's why we get people subscribing and downloading on Spotify and YouTube. This is where the attention's going. When was the last time that people actually watched free TV or an ad without fast forwarding it? Or we start as soon as an ad comes up, what do? We look at our phone and we start scrolling on the very platform where we're telling everyone to start putting their attention to. It's obvious, right, James?
It's obvious when you put it like that, but like when a certain person's been doing something in a certain way for so long.
That's the number one biggest mistake, is that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah, but I couldn't agree with you more. I have the same problem when I'm bringing a person who's been long-term employed by a company, getting them out of that company because they know exactly how long it takes to get to work. They know exactly where they get their coffee in the morning, their lunch, everything like that. Yeah. And then to pull them out, you want to have a break?
No.
Okay. You can if you want. And then pull it out and then get them to shift their mindset, right? So I think I'm condensing two stories here, but I am 45, and give me some creative license here. I think we were having dinner at Chin Chin one night together, and I said, "You're an influencer," and you fucking cut sick at me and said, "I'm not an influencer. I don't think this." When I think influencer marketing, personal brand, there is no one better than you. Okay, shout out to Emma and everyone else, but for what you do, you're the best in Australia, right?
Thank you.
What I want to ask you now is how the fuck there's a person who's in a 9-to-5 job. They know they want more out of life. They want to take control of their own destiny. They might have just got out of a relationship that wasn't any good, toxic, whatever. We don't know, whatever. How can someone with 0 followers, 0 idea of a personal brand, do a ABC or an XYZ steps to become the Mel Yu?
Well, Mel Yu's taken. This is the biggest thing. Is
so tell me more about that.
There's only one of me.
Correct.
This is why I love building personal brands, because I see everything from a lens of you are one of one.
Yep.
No one can replicate you, no matter how saturated, competitive you think the market is. No one offers your particular service with your particular messaging, with your particular lived experience and your data, like everything, your entire timeline. You are so freaking unique. Even if you were a twin, you are still unique with your own DNA and fingerprint. That's how I see a personal brand. So to the person that's going, I'm listening, I'm kind of interested, no idea what you're talking about, have a look at the people that you are inspired by. Okay. Have a look at those types of personal brands and how they've heroed their journey and their story, and extract something. Success leaves clues. You do not have to reinvent the wheel.
And failure.
Exactly, but they all leave clues. And the number one thing I actually want people to understand is you can start having a personal brand with 0 followers. It's not about following. I could not give a flying fuck about that middle number, about how many followers you have. That means 0 to me. How much money have you banked? How much influence do you actually make? Because that middle metric means nothing to me. When I coach clients on personal brand, I actually look at that. If we're looking at Instagram, I hope we can do like a post little edit thing on Instagram. I care about
We've got the thumbs up.
I care about the number that's the first one that you see, which is how many posts have you done? That is a stat that I care about. I couldn't care about your metric.
Why?
And I coach people. One of my clients, for example, Godwin Healy, shout out to Godwin Charlie, founder. We've been working together on his personal brand, luxury, best in Melbourne in the tailoring scene. Arguably, his personal brand has 1,000 followers, if that. Don't care about it because we're concentrating on the metric of how many times he's actually showing up, building consistency and sustainability and trust within his brand. How many posts is he doing? How much educational content is he putting out? And we get data, we get evidence. People coming into his store saying, I chose you because I saw one video and I just knew that you were the guy that like the tailoring guy because I loved your personality in it. One of his suits are $3,000 plus. That's what I care about, an actual influence and a decision making. The time that you said to me I'm an influencer at dinner at Chin Chin and why I would have reacted that way is because I'm not an influencer. I'm a person of influence. An influencer, I feel like, has had this connotation now where I go and sell whatever product it is, makeup product, hair product, whatnot. I show you what I'm having for my green smoothie in the morning, my Pilates class. Look at me, da, 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 da. I don't do any of that. By default, I show that I walk consistently. Fitness and health is something I value, but I actually don't do any product placement.
No.
I do ambassadorship of things that really align. A few things like Range Rover, that makes sense for me. If Emirates wants to fly me business class, that makes sense for me.
First class.
First class, sorry. If a private jet airline, that makes sense for me. But these are the associations that my personal brand is affiliated with. But anything else, if someone came to me and was like, hey, can you please, unless I really loved and embodied that product, I actually don't do any influencer marketing at all. But I'm seen as an authority in the space. And when the types of clients I work with, they don't want to be an influencer. They want to be a thought leader. They want credibility. And so it's not about 100,000 following or whatnot. It's, are you perceived as a thought leader within your niche and your industry? And you show up like that on LinkedIn, on Instagram, whatever platform might be relevant for you. But your personal brand is an extension of everything that you are, online and offline. Whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand.
Oh, 100%.
Went on a bit of a passion rant there, but that's just how I am.
Fuck it. Mel, you fucking do you. If the Mel Yu wants to go on a fucking rant, she is to go on a rant, and there's nothing we're going to do about it.
And Tav needs to be Tav. Like, this is the thing.
Tav.
You guys all, everyone listening to this, it's like, you're not anyone else. Yes, you might extract what I just said. Look at who inspires you. I think that's important.
You've made me a much better managing director, and you've also helped me get out of a very dark period in my life, probably darker than my divorce. Okay. And it costs money and it costs time and it costs everything, right? I think your brand is so strong that people want to see you succeed. I have a lot of people that want to see me fail. Like who
cares what other people, what everyone else thinks?
I get that. And I knew you were going to get.
I know, but also the reframe. Your words are spells. Like I've become very spiritual, very into my faith. Because it's
do you want to come and do a healing session with me?
Once you understand that everything is energy,
yeah.
Tav, listen.
I'm listening.
Once you understand that everything is energy, you would protect it with your life. And so even just the very thing of you articulating that it costs me my health, it cost me my money, it cost me relationships, and I was in a deep, dark space. Why can't we just reframe it like that? And what a beautiful opportunity it was for you to have learned X, Y, and Z, and you're no longer in that space, you needed that space. You needed to go low to experience the highs.
Correct.
That's what you needed to do. And so it was a gift. And true gratitude and understanding of energy is when things are tough or challenging, also having gratitude for that place is deep, true gratitude. Not just gratitude for the good times and gratitude for when everyone's celebrating you. Like, that's why I think I'm just so true to who I am and people naturally gravitate towards that because I've never tried to be anything else. And I've also never done it for anyone else. I love me. Like, I like everything that I post online. It's more a dear diary or a journal for self.
Yeah,
your
100%.
like's extra. And if you don't like it, I couldn't care because this is me building my legacy and my impact. And if you want to come along for that journey, you get to come along. And that's just kind of how I've grown the community.
What I love about what you do. It is so fucking honest. Like, it is so.
There's no other way.
Yeah, but it's saying it, and then like it's saying what you do, and then doing what you say you're going to do, right? And that's that. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that." You're one of the only people that I know that do what you say you're going to do. I'm going to build my personal brand, and you are right. In the 3 years I've known you, you have become very spiritual. I can tell by the way that you walk, by the way you talk, by the way you carry yourself, like you are. And the reason why I was so keen to get you back on is because I felt like last time we had you on with Emma that we didn't really get into this. And yes, your story is very well documented, and anyone can Google you, anyone can chat GPT you, and it all comes through. However, I do agree with you. The shit that happens to you builds you into the person that you are today. What you've gone through recently and how grateful you are for it, how are you applying that to your current businesses and your current life?
I think I work with a very holistic framework. So if your family bucket, if your life bucket isn't full, like your business can only meet you to where that is. And when people are like, oh, but I'm so successful in business, but you're unhappy in your marriage, or you're, not happy with your health, like you've lost the game. That's not it.
Yep.
I think seeing someone with true fulfillment is every area of their life. At most times, if we're ranking a score between 0 and 10, they sit at a 7, 8, or 9 on all buckets. I would hate to have someone be at a 10 somewhere and then a 0 or a 1 in another area of life. Then I think you've completely missed the point of what life is. And going through what I went through, there was a serious purging around my environment, around my businesses, and around things that I have yet to share because there's things that I can't share yet.
All in good time.
Exactly. Can't wait for that to drop. But there are things that had to be purged because it was never meant for me. And the realization, when it shattered my life and my identity, my partner at the time, I'm just so grateful that I waited, and now I'm in an even more fulfilling relationship, a more aligned relationship, and I would never let that ever happen again. But should it happen again, and should this current relationship not work out, it's understanding that Mel Yu's got Mel Yu always. But not only that, an actual friend or mutual friend of ours, I'm going to give her a shout out, Rian. She actually helped me see perspective that was just so beautiful. She's also a coach. She's also in the personal branding space. And we were talking about our values between each other.
Yeah.
And one of my values I had mentioned was resilience.
Yep.
And one of her values she mentioned was faith. And she actually showed me in the mirror that both resilience and faith have the same result, but the energetic frequency between the two words are different. Now, let me actually unpack that. If anyone's ever resonated with the word resilience, like a Mel Yu, I've told you how hard my life has been or how many struggles I've had. So resilience was a value of mine. And she mentioned resilience is always, it means that no matter what happens, you believe that you've got you. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she said, for me, faith is no matter what happens, I believe that the universe has got me. And it's the slightest, smallest nuance of the energy that I still feel that I have to have me, but then who has me? Like, who's got my back? Whereas she lives in this frequency that the universe always has her back. And I just loved that tiny shift that I was like, you know what? I'm going to lean more into faith. I'm going to lean more that no matter what happens, God, creator, source, universe, whatever it is, the higher above energy knows better than I do, because I'm a small, minute little ant, smaller than that, in a massive conglomerate of an existence. So I love both. I love having the duality of both, that I know that I've got my back, but I also trust that I might not know everything and that faith has also my back. And I live in that fulfillment and alignment.
You know what? I agree with that. When I came to Melbourne 9-10 years ago, I had $5,000 to my name. I had a little liquidation, everything going on, right? But I had the faith that I knew it was going to be okay. Took 3 years, It took 4 years. But like knowing that and walking that path, a lot of people give up because it's perceived too hard or this. And I love that you're becoming more spiritual. And I love that you're really developing a skill set and courses for other and a path for people to aspire to. And maybe follow, maybe not. Because as you said, there is only one, the Mel Yu. Okay?
I swear, guys, this is a joke. This is just, I hope people
I
do
know
not
have
run.
you in their phone as the Mel Yu. I've actually seen it, the Mel Yu. How better are you at running your companies now with this new mindset? Not new, but like this whole...
It is a new mindset.
It's like, you're...
Tav, it is a new mindset.
Yeah.
And Tav, it's also a new Mel. Every time that you meet me, I ideally, it's a new Mel. She's gone from version 1 to version 2 to version 3.
I did feel your energy walking through here.
Like, I love that.
And I went...
It's a woman that's carried herself because she's done the work.
Yeah.
It's a woman that can sit here and have these conversations because she's done the work, and she's so content in and convicted in who she is and who she's becoming. And so the business that I'm running now is very different because I have more awareness. I have more stats. I have more runs on the board around relationship, and really business is all just about relationship anyway.
Correct.
And also this level of self-awareness. I actually said in a post recently, and people reshared it, but I said, entrepreneurship is just extreme personal development masked around making money. It's all about self.
I remember that post. I don't know if I reshare it. Sorry, like,
But
I reshare most
you
of your
reshare
stuff.
a lot of things. I appreciate you so much. But yeah, I think your business is only ever as good as who you are at the core.
100%. And if you're off your game in any way, shape or form, your business suffers.
It does. And there's a delay. So I had a time delay around my businesses because what actually happened, where you are at currently is actually the actions that you made 3 to 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a time delay when it comes to business and success, and even your body and health. When people, so let's say, go to the gym, you're never going to notice it in the here and now, in the immediate. But after 3 to 6 months, it's like, oh, you look great. It's like, oh, it's because I've been putting in the work for half a year back over there. And it's the same with our businesses. So when if your business is currently in a low point, it's actually something, have a look and audit. What were you doing 3 to 6 months ago? And if your business is thriving, have a look. What were the moves you were making 3 to 6 months ago?
Agreed. Last year was not a great year for TRS Resourcing, 2024, but it had massive to do what was going on in my personal life in 2023.
Makes sense.
Makes
sense.
Like what happened then to thee, and it's only now just and I get the whole time delay thing, but I guess that's where people need to start having faith and trust and personal brand is if you want to change as an individual, if you want to change your company, it's not going to happen overnight, but you got to start the work today.
Brand compounds. So when you first start,
that more.
Well, branding, it's like an investment. It just will compound when you keep going. But it's why I see so many people, when people say personal branding doesn't work, I'm like, show me. Show me the amount of reps that you've done. Oh, you've got 3 posts, one's of your cat, and your LinkedIn hasn't been activated for
don't even get me
4
started
weeks,
on LinkedIn.
And you seem like a creepy Twitter person, or Tinder person or something that doesn't have a profile for it. Gives me the ick when I look at your brand online. and so that's why when I say it doesn't work, it's like, oh, it's because you haven't put in the reps, my dear. Start showing up as awkward as it feels again and again and again. And eventually people will start seeing it. But when you first start posting, how obnoxious are you to think that the world's suddenly going to go,
hang on,
oh my God.
Who the fuck is that? Yeah.
You're the bee's knees. You're amazing. Yeah. Absolutely not. Trust takes time to build over time.
Yep.
So building the brand now, it compounds. And as you start doing more and more and more, you'll realize that your influence grows and grows and grows. And I think there's a saying that it's like the harder I work, the more successful or the luckier I get.
100%.
And it's never ran more true, but only to people that have done the reps. And you see it. People can respect like the grind. When you've just come out as a business, you're learning so much. Oof. But a decade later, 12 years later, 15 years later, and people still come on your page and it's like, she's still at it. She's still going.
I get it. I mean, I think I'm coming into 14 years, 2020, 2013 to date.
Sure.
Since I've been, in independent recruiter. Question I have for you, without going into your particular clients, what feedback do you get? Similar feedback with building personal brand from females or males? Like, do they give you?
Not relevant.
Not relevant?
No.
Why is that not relevant?
Why would it be? Why would gender be a relevancy in building a personal brand and being seen?
I'm talking from a reluctance point of view to build a personal brand. I'm not saying gender as a personal brand, but like you have a male client and you have a female client, right? Or whatever. Are they?
Ironically, yeah, not in my industries,
okay.
Not in the brands I suppose I attract, because again, they probably already know me in some way. So the people I attract are quite similar in terms of like-mindedness. I'm actually surprised because there is there's a thing about, and you'll probably know this around recruitment, is like men don't need all the information. They need about 60% of the information to make a decision.
Correct.
Women often need 100% of the information or feel like they don't have enough then to make the move or make a decision.
Cool.
Okay? But yet when I still see, I'm like, why aren't there heaps of men blowing up with these personal brands?
Yeah.
Because they're both still dealing with a visibility wound. They're both still dealing with something around, if I was to truly be seen.
Yeah.
To be truly seen means that you also have to be willing to accept that you'll be hated. And I think and I think that's actually a deeper lesson, because people don't want to not be liked. As human beings, we want to be liked. We're social beings. No one wants to not be liked. But yet to truly build a personal brand means that your content has to swing one way or the other. You cannot sit on the fence with a personal brand. A personal brand requires you to share your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions. And guess what? We just do not all think the same on this world, because it would be bloody boring if everyone just agreed with everything that we said. But what I actually work through, I think that uses a lot of my psychology background, which is why I excel so much in this space, because it's about psychology and relationship and your relationship with self. Like, people build a brand and then they get attacked, or someone laughs at them, or someone says, oh, what are you, a big shot now? Oh, what are you, an influencer now? And they retreat instantly. And then they don't go back anymore because they were so afraid of what other people might think. And we need to deal with that before we do anything else. We actually need to deal with the stories and the beliefs and the blockages that you have around building a brand. Like, a part of you wants to, which means that that's already your destiny. If people don't wake up every day and want to build a brand, but if you're listening to this podcast and you're still here this long in, there's something about you that wants to build a brand.
100%.
So then that's your calling. But the universe is never going to give you something without any hardship along the way. What it really does is the moment you claim it and say you want it, what does it do? It's going to go, oh yeah, let's see. Let's test that. Let's see if you're willing to get that. If you just woke up and you were like, oh, I'm now famous, it means nothing. The whole point of building it is that you're in war. You've got the marks, you've got the battle scars. That's actually the journey. That's what makes it so rewarding. It's why people love the brand.
I want to come over and give you a hug. I love that. I love that. Like, yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. I'm actually just a little bit speechless, actually.
Tav speechless. Well, yeah. What else do you have for me? Fire away. I feel like I've been so animated in this chat.
I feel like we're almost on the edge of one of our famous heated debates. Like, and I'm like, I was just about to give a message to James going like, if this kicks, just let us roll. It's okay. Like, yeah. Okay. Question I have for you. What's next for the Mel Yu?
The next version of Mel.
Are you going to write a book?
I am.
Are we going to get a mini-series out?
You are going to see a book that's coming out, and it's called The Other Side. And funny, you opened with the question around how has it shaped me, and this is my first sort of memoir that will show everything, but also how I got to the other side.
Yep.
Is it going to build my personal brand? Absolutely. But is it going to be a book that's another version of Mel, heart on sleeve, writing through all the things that she's gone through? I think this is going to be my signed, sealed, delivered of version 1 Mel, and I'm going to put it in a book form so that people have access to it always and forever. And I can also continue to help the people that I once was. But the Mel Yu, what's next for her? She needs to help another set of people, another group of people, and she can't stay playing small anymore. And so there is going to be a book, I think, that's going to help a lot of people. But for Mel Yu's circle, Mel Yu's community, Mel Yu's experiences, for those that don't know, because we kind of went straight into it, but I run an events company.
Yes, you
and
do.
we create amazing, unique experiences. And so lately I've been playing with how do we elevate that? How do we activate more and more people to come into our spaces, meet incredible people and move them through? What's that percentile that we can move them through to the next thing? Because I really care about people living a really fulfilled and freaking awesome life. And if I can be part of that in any way, then I think you should definitely follow, keep in touch, because there's so many amazing, cool events that I'm just going to go out and get it.
Your Sunday business networking events are awesome. I've been to one.
Lunch clubs, dinner clubs. Yep.
Dinner clubs. I'm looking forward to the next one. I may bring more of my motley crew along this time.
Love it. Thank you.
Because you said I had to network with people I didn't know, so I told you to fuck off. I'm going to bring my own people then. But I had a great day. Like it was, James, you should come to one as well. Okay, so that's what's next. The Mel Yu.
Yes.
And we've talked a lot about personal brand and resilience and vulnerability. How does one monetize this? Not to say you should want to build a personal brand just for money, but at the end of the day, you need to put bank in the bank. Mm-hmm. And someone's listening to this, as rightly so, this far in, they're clearly here about building a brand. I've always built my brand around Tavis Shearer, the recruiter. The car thing's only been the last 2 years. I've always been around that. I tell you what, my biggest hindsight moment to date is not building my LinkedIn earlier from my London days. I had a bit of a family dispute at the time, so I disappeared offline for a couple of years and deleted my LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's probably my biggest, like, I was there right at the start. Like, I remember when Facebook came sweeping through.
I think that thought's not even helpful, Tav.
No, but it is, because what I've learned from it.
Yeah.
It's
but
all well and
you
good
can always start today. Anyone here is not looking back going, I should have.
No.
Start now.
But it's human nature. It is human nature to look back. But no, I don't hold it back against me. I'm not saying that, my height. It's just like, I understand what I'm trying to say is I personally understand how important and powerful and millions of dollars of advice that you've just given freely on this podcast. What you have said today is worth millions to the right person. Okay, millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that because I have friends that I've seen make huge, vast fortunes from nothing. And what I want people listening to this to understand is you don't need to be special. You don't need to come from a tormented childhood or anything like that. What I want people to understand is that literally building a personal brand can be so simple.
Yeah.
But taking that first fucking step is so fucking scary.
Yeah. Okay. As with anything that we do.
Yeah. But
when we first take a step as a baby, we fall. We don't just start skipping down the road. We always fall.
Yeah, but letting people know that that's okay.
Yeah.
Because social media, smartphones make everything look glamorous.
Which is why when you can have cut through and you show a bit of that vulnerability and humanness, it's jarring, especially on LinkedIn. That's why I do so well on LinkedIn.
You rock on LinkedIn. I do
so well on LinkedIn. And the constant feedback that people give me is just like, it's not a sales pitch. It's not like, here's my 5 things I learned from my kid's birthday. Like what? Like how are we you shouldn't be putting everything into not everything's a lesson about business. But back to how do you monetize things? You monetize things by building value for one and having a good set of product suites. And when people clearly know what they can come to you for, how you can help them, you will make money on the back end. So focus on adding value rather than these vanity metrics about following. Actually know who your customer is and all of this that's actually business focused and offer them something that is a no-brainer offer. That's it.
What's a no-brainer offer?
Something where they would feel stupid saying no.
Okay.
So let's say media. If someone needs to be seen and they want to create a podcast, but they are so bounded by not knowing how to film, have the camera gear, have the lighting, upload, edit, cut, all of that. Do you know what you do? You create a production business, a podcasting business, and you create a no-brainer offer, like where you come in, you do the content, you stay as a talent, and then you leave. And guess what? All of it's done. Someone like that has made a really great business model. James. I'm just giving him a little shout out, you know.
James is awesome.
He is.
So you're an employee, you're in your 20s, your 30s, whatever, 40s. And how does one go from I'm all about paradigm shifting, all right? I believe you've recently gone through a paradigm shift. I've also become very spiritual, hence why I see my naturopath every 3 weeks in Hillsville. It's nice to have my license back because I was Uber bill was up there. How do you right? Okay, let's start this, James. Right, Mel, you have brand deals. You're an ambassador. Okay, how does someone build a personal brand, monetize it, and also find these brand deals? Because the brand deals that you have, very few people get the opportunity to have.
It's interesting. It's twofold for this one.
Yep.
Because once you start, there's this, you put out content, you add value into your community, you're building your brand.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, once you've built enough value within your community and your space, you stop chasing, you attract.
Yep.
So the deals I don't actually go to the deals anymore. They come to me because they want to work with me. I get invited to the best events because they see value that when I share about it to my community, people will be influenced and they'll come.
Yep.
Me sitting in a Range Rover, because my personal brand and values are so strong, Range Rover goes, this is a really strong alignment. This makes sense for both of it.
Yep.
Now, a brand deal needs to be a win-win, and without authenticity and true love for that brand, it will never work because people can sense, like I just highly encourage you to never take a deal purely from a financial point or a figure.
100%.
You have to use the product. Now, if you're starting out and you've never had a brand deal and you've never been seen, start talking about the products you already use as a consumer. People don't know whether you've been paid or not around that brand, but you can start building reps. So if you love Nando's, just pulling out a brand, and you genuinely love that as a food product, start talking about that product as if you've already had the brand deal, as if you've already got it. Do you know what happens to most of the influencers or people? They'll talk about a skin product, they'll show it.
Yep.
That brand sees it because guess what? It's all just people behind it. There's marketing teams behind these social accounts. So you just got to, how the car stuff came out is because I started just being positioned around cars. So before that, it was a Cherry brand. It was Cherry. And then I leveled up to a different car dealership and a different car brand. But because I started putting myself in an automotive space, if you were a traveler, then start showcasing and documenting all the products you use. How do you pack your suitcase? What flights do you use? What are some things that you use as a consumer? And once you start getting the reps in, brands will start seeing it. If you listen with headphones and you go for a run and that's your thing, document it, show it. The next headphone company will be like, we want her to be wearing our headphones. That's how brand deals start because there's true value alignment in what you do. And don't make it hard because the best brand deals are, do you know how easy it is to sell something that you love? When you go to a restaurant and you absolutely love the restaurant, what do you do after? You tell all your friends to go to the restaurant.
Yep.
You're not making an actual monetary sale out of that, but this is the same mentality. If you love a pair of Nike runners versus Adidas runners, you wear them, you hero them, and the brand comes. Because brands also see, when we're talking about the whole personal brand scheme here and the world that we're living in, big companies are leaning on it. JD Sports does this incredibly well.
Okay.
JD Sports partners up with Melbourne local
retail
creatives,
Yep.
big retail, but they're still selling personal brands. They're using music, they're using athletes, they're using people that have local community influence to build out their campaigns. What's another brand that I think Virgin also does it really well.
Yep.
So what I mean by that is Richard Branson's always out there showing his journey, his dyslexia, his struggles, his challenges, and people by default fly Virgin over another airline because I think actually any entrepreneur, they have a natural tendency to like fly Virgin because it says something about us.
You know, I think you're right. I'm just thinking there's only a handful that fly the other airline.
Yeah. But we also know that other airline, but do we know that story as well? I don't think we do. I think Virgin and Richard has crafted his journey and the right people that he wants to attract. It helps his workplace culture. It helps his business. It helps his customer. So start with brands that you already love and consume, because we're all consumers in some way, and then flip it and start creating for them. Add value first.
My mind is absolutely buzzing from this conversation. How are you now a better leader because of your personal brand? Or you're not, and I've asked a shitty question.
No, I'm not a better leader because of my personal brand per se, but I'm a better leader because I've invested in myself and the skills and upskilled and learned a whole lot. And so this is a story that we're going a bit sidetracked in terms of business, but I had never let anyone go until the start of this year, January 10th.
Yep.
And it was a big day for me, and it had a lot of weight for me to let someone go. And when that staff member is crying and that staff member is asking why them, can it be other people? What was the reasoning? All the things that someone as an employee and someone that has just genuinely lost their job is going to ask. And for me to be able to hold compassion and hold space, yet remain professional and back my own decision was an incredibly difficult day. And I am someone that is such an empath. The next 2 days over the weekend, I was incredibly upset.
I was worried about you.
But it was the most beautiful part of the journey of recognizing, how can I have done that better? Because the feeling of actually going through it, you can hear all about people letting stuff go and saying it's necessary. But when you've actually done it, I think when you don't have like the actual feeling in the gut of what that feels like, it's very hard to understand. But then now that I've got that, I've got lived experience under my belt, I've got a stat, I've done a rep. And now the next time that I let someone go, because inevitably if I'm in business for long enough, let's not be naive, it will probably happen again.
100%.
And I can handle that better. I can have better language. I can understand it because now I've got experience. And so everything that I have gone through with my personal life, 100%, should I wish to do so, which I have, do the work, and it makes me a better leader. And then as I've built my personal brand, recruitment becomes so much easier because people know me. Whereas if you don't have a brand and you're trying to recruit top talent, A+ championship team talent, very hard because they don't understand what your values are, and you're trying to over explain yourself when you're hiring or recruiting. Whereas someone like me, I put out a post and say, does anyone want to work with us? We're inundated. But that's because people are inspired to work with the Mel Yu experience.
I absolutely treasure our friendship, and I love the conversations that we have, and we won't go into the depth of the conversations we have, but someone wanting to inspire to have a personal brand similar to yours, as you said, there is only one, the Mel Yu, and we all know that, okay? Mm-hmm. What other steps do you think someone should take to build a personal brand? I know you're about repetition, posting. Does quality of posting, quality of content matter in the early days?
It matters.
Okay. You always tell me I take shit photos, right? Whatever we're doing.
I think it depends on what your brand is and where you're trying to go. And also, what is that message and what is that photo that you're trying to take? Now, on a deeper level, if you're asking me what it takes to build a brand.
Yeah, that's
right? The digital side and the online presence side, when we're talking about the marketing strategy and the online strategy, is the tip of the iceberg. We need to go beneath the iceberg and underneath on all the layers. And that means working out what your compelling story is. What are the messages that you actually want to share with the world, so that you're not posting from a place of, I just got to post whatever and get something out for the day.
Yeah,
it's very intentional. It's crafted, and there's a certain message that you want to get out there. It's not just posting for the sake of posting, because otherwise then it's just noise.
Do you have a resource that you would recommend someone to look at to sort of discipline? Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was kind of angling at. Like, what resources does Mel Yu offer the marketplace?
Find someone you trust. Find someone you trust
Mm-hmm.
and not even buy from them. Follow them.
Okay.
Follow them and see. And the moment that you do feel the calling that you need to buy or go and get a discovery call or purchase one of their services, you'll do it. But if not, go to therapy. Like, go into psychology and understanding, journaling your journey and your story. You get so much understanding and depth from it. And that's the foundational work that we need to do. That's the foundational work you need to do before any of the, how do I dress? What color palette do I have? What's my logo? Like, fuck all that.
Yeah. 100%.
And get deep about who it is that you are. Because when you figure that out, you're unshakable. You're a force to be reckoned with. Go get it.
Powerful. All right, Mel, as we wrap up today, I have one last question for you. What do people do wrong in building a personal brand that they're convinced actually will bring them what they're looking for in building a personal brand? And secondly, the flip side to that, what does work that people think doesn't work and is not worth the time?
You are the trend. Don't follow trends. Don't mimic trends. Just create. You are the trend. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of people show me TikTok references, Instagram references of what's worked for people that has given X amount of person virality. That gave that person virality. The moment that you try and replicate a trend or like a skit or whatnot, yes, you can also achieve virality, but for what? So you get this rush of traffic and people love when they're getting 1.5 million views or downloads or whatnot on a particular piece of content. And then the next content has 108. Like, but you created something that, yes, the internet is loving.
Yep.
And it makes sense. But just make sure that it is aligned with who it is that you want to be and what you want to put out there. Because the moment that you kind of start doing in all these different trends, it's a trend. So it comes and it goes. Are you wanting to do that and be a brand that just comes and goes? Or are you doing this for the long haul? I work with people of influence that want a brand for the long haul. So my advice to them is not follow the trends and stick to the plan.
Okay.
And every one of us has a plan that will work for us, whether it's educational content, inspirational content, entertaining content, whatnot. We figure out what those pillars and strategies are and we don't stray from it. Just because it's popping off for someone else doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work. So
stay true to
you.
your core.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Again, looking at my clients, they go, why would anyone want to see that? Why would anyone want to see me walking the dog? Or why would anyone want to see me just at my laptop? Or nobody cares about that. Stop creating content thinking about what you would care about and start listening to your customer because you are not your customer. So creating content isn't about you ever. It's actually about service, it's about impact, and it's about getting someone else to also, like, you're delivering a message and also inspiring action. And so a lived experience of mine is I go for a walk every day. Everyone knows that. Yes. I'm literally known for my long 1 hour walks with my podcast.
Are people joining you on these walks yet?
Correct.
They are.
That's creepy.
Yeah,
I've actually stopped sharing my Strava for that reason. However, the amount of messages that I get that because someone saw my story, that they went out and they went for a walk. That to me is things that money cannot buy. Okay. And that is influence. That is influence that someone saw a story and they were like, fuck, she's at it again. I'm going to go for a walk too. If I can better you by 1%, like that's all, that's me served for the day.
I think my housemate Yulk has actually gone on a walk because she's seen your content.
Yeah.
Actually 100%
I get it,
she has.
But I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because the way that I show up, not that you ever needed a permission slip, but for the moment, while you don't have all of the self-belief and the conviction, let me be your permission slip until you just own your story.
On that, I fucking love that. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much, Tav, for having me. Thanks, James, behind the camera and all the editing team. It takes an army to build a show like this. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll have you on again when you allow. Hi all, I want to talk about today's sponsor of Tav's little video chat, TRS Resourcing. I'm a little bit biased of today's sponsor considering I'm its founding director and managing director. TRS Resourcing has built a phenomenal reputation for supplying technical blue-collar staff, logistics, warehousing, 3PL, and my brand spanking new construction, property development, and real estate arm. So whether you're looking for a blue-collar role or a white-collar role to be filled within Melbourne or Sydney, TRS Resourcing great sponsor of Tav's Little Video Chat, and a great bunch of people to deal with and great culture. Please get in touch.